Alright, what's poppin' YouTube? Welcome to another video, another trade recap. No, I did forget to bring y'all a trade recap yesterday. Don't really have a reason as to why. I just didn't feel like recording, so I did not bring on one, but I did have a winning day yesterday. I did end up taking the short. I'll show y'all through trading view right quick. The trade I did take yesterday. And then I will get into what I was looking at going into today and everything like that. Now, I genuinely don't even remember my full bias from yesterday. I ended up capitalizing on this short though. Okay, so we were tapping the higher time frame bearish gap. We ended up sweeping these highs. And from here, I was essentially just waiting for some type of response or reaction. And I ended up catching this short right here at 1046. Now, what did I did something wrong with this short. And I did end up catching this at a very good spot. I want to say I entered on the 30-second. Let me zoom in. I want to say I entered on the 30-second. Once we got this 30-second change on the next candle here. Once we got this 30-second CISD, I entered short and end up getting all out at these internal lows, which I am disappointed in myself about. Now, why did I close at these internal lows? Because to me, at the time, we were just so bullish. And yes, I did recognize this low resistance liquidity here. However, we were still displacing off of bullish gaps. Price was moving in the higher time frame. I just wanted to take what I could get. Now, with this, did I have context to hold lower? Yes, I did. And I ended up getting all out at this internal low, securing about a, what was it? I got it like right here. Yeah, like a 1.3 R, which I'm not really the proudest of because this was a very free 4R trade that should have made me a lot more money. Now, it's not good to always think about, trades in regards to how much money you could have made. However, with this situation, I made a mistake closing very early when I really did not need to, which ended up costing me money. Now, if there's a situation where, okay, I was confident in price going to these lows, that gets met, and then we continue to push lower, then no, don't care about what else price does after that because that's what you have the most conviction in. However, all of this low resistance liquidity here is very likely for price to come and take, especially as we got that initial displacement. We got the 5-minute CISD here. I had a lot of reasoning as to why I should have held longer, which is why I'm disappointed in myself and all that. But let's get on to today though. I will show y'all my P&L and all that later on because I'm trying to do Top Step X. So yeah, coming into today, as y'all can see, we're pretty ugly. As y'all can see here, it looks like a lot of trades. I took 3 trades here, and I took my last trade right here. So I took 4 trades today, 2 losses, 1 break even, and then I took 1 win that made all that back. As y'all can see right here, I made $375 on the day. But I'm going to actually turn these executions off now, as y'all can see, and I will, where's it at? Give y'all a rundown on what I was looking for. So first of all, coming into the day, we just swept, a lot of from yesterday. We sold all the way off. Let me clean this chart up a little bit. Jesus, I'm sorry. We swept a lot of sell side liquidity here. And at this point, I'm kind of just waiting to see what price wants to do next. I'm waiting to see whether or not we're going to go higher. We're in a weekly gap here. We just swept this weekly low. So coming into market open, we were around this area. We were around this part of price. So I'm like, all right, we're still holding a weekly gap. We just swept the weekly low. Yes, we do have more sell side here, but I want to see whether or not price is going to want any type of rebalance before we might want to continue lower. So from here, I zoom in, I recognize we have an unfilled 4-hour gap that also aligns with these 15-minute highs here. So I'm like, all right, this is probably going to be my most prominent DOL, meaning draw on liquidity. Just because we also have this, what looks like to be an AMD model. We have accumulation. I want to see manipulation at these lows and then distribution higher. We had an SMT with YM at these lows as well. YM never ended up coming down to sweep this low or the weekly low. We had an SMT with YM. YM never swept this weekly low. So I'm like, all right, that could be the manipulation. We have this 15-minute displacement here. We close to the 30-minute. We got a 30-minute CISD. Resting highs above us, unfilled gaps. I'm like, all right, we can possibly see higher to this. It's very clean to be AMD. When you look at what the previous sessions did, they kind of just accumulated, which to me usually leads to a very volatile New York Open. And then from here, I measured out standard deviation of Asia's dealing range, which aligned with what I wanted to see higher. So from here, I'm coming into the morning looking for a higher price. Now, where did my first mistake come from? I'm mad at these first losses. So my first trade came here. My first trade came in this accumulation zone. You can call it that. And I'll just zoom into like right here. So as y'all can see here, this is a proportion block here. We are holding a 5-minute gap as well. We have an unfilled 5-minute down here. I want to believe it's an unfilled 15-minute as well. Or no, it's a filled 15-minute, but there's a low resting within this 15-minute that also has new week opening gap right beneath, or new day opening gap right beneath it. Unfilled gaps, low resistance liquidity here. We're respecting this 5-minute. Swept these internal highs. I'm like, all right, we'll probably want to go lower here. Now, should I have taken this short? Not at all. We also had an SMT at the high as well, as I can see. But I'm like, all right, should I have gone short here? In hindsight, no. The reason why is because, yes, this does look decent coming out of market open. However, I want to see higher on the day, so I should not be looking to trade lower. Like, yes, I expect price to go lower, but I shouldn't even be executing on anything on within price going lower until we actually show me on the higher time frame that we want to go lower. I need to always align my internal trade with the external. And this internal trade did not align with the external, which is part of the reason why I feel like it failed, because externally, I believe we were still bullish. We had this daily opening wick right here as well from midnight open. So I have a lot of reason as to why I want price to go higher. However, we did have this internal sell model. Was this a bad setup? By any means, no. I think that this is not a bad setup at all. When you just look at it right here, this isn't bad at all. You know, we had the 9:30 opening wick lower, came up, manipulated higher, accumulation, manipulation, distribution. We have resting sell side here. We had an inversion fair value gap, very clean, very fast, with the CISD with the same candle here. As y'all can see, we got a body close beneath this order block here. So I'm like, all right, we should sell off, which on paper looks good. However, the higher time frame for me is still bullish. So I shouldn't have even taken this. I should have said, all right, I'll expect price to sell off here. I'm gonna look to take my long from there. I should always be aligning my internal with my external, and that's the reason why I failed on this setup, and the reason why I'm upset at myself, because it's costing me a lot of money. So from here, I slapped the short right here, stop loss at this high, I believe. First PT here, looking to see longer as well. And as y'all can see, instant stop loss. I'm like, damn. All right, let's see what we're gonna do now. I'm waiting. I'm like, all right, this looks even better. I give it a re-entry. I have a rule. I only take 2 re-entries max. Re-enter, same targets, stop out. I'm like, damn, that's bad. So from here, I'm just kind of waiting. And now this to me didn't necessarily count as a re-entry because we ended up re-sweeping the highs, forming our own new gaps. And this is where I went. This wasn't a loss. So from here, I took this short again. Once we got that initial displacement, stopped at the high, same targets. Now, the reason I ended up getting break even right here, I went break even here, was because ES ended up sweeping the low that I wanted to see. So at this point, on this wick, ES swept this low. I didn't want to close because it really wasn't the best risk to reward. And it really wasn't going to do me any justice by closing where we were. So I was like, all right, I'm going to either hold this. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to either get stopped at break even, or we are going to hit my profit target. And as you can see, I got stopped at break even. So from here, I'm like, all right, let me just observe. Let me sit back. Let me relax. And that is exactly what I did. So from here, I'm sitting back. I'm waiting. I'm really not happy with the fact that I gave back 2 losses to R in the morning. Off of those just bad areas. Now, this was the initial long I was considering. Now, the reason I did not take this was because, yes, we do look good here. We have a 2-minute inversion, also along with the 3-minute as well. We close above all these gaps with this volume imbalance here. We're displacing out of the 15-minute as well. We had an SMT put in at these lows also. All the reason as to why I should want to see price go higher. However, the issue with this trade is I wanted to see is because I'm looking to see overall higher on the higher time frame. I want to see price really expanding up here. I'm waiting to see an overall high time frame change in delivery. What does that mean? I need to see price close above this proportion block, which I have highlighted right here. This wick right here that price was constantly respecting. I need to see us close above that. And since we didn't, now we technically did do that right here. We closed above consequent encroachment, but once we did this, we put in an SMT. It was an SMT with this high, so I did not take this long. I was waiting to see that this whole time. Yes, this long on paper doesn't look bad. I just wanted more context because I already had taken 2 previous losses and I had a reason not to enter this trade. If there's a reason for you not to enter the trade, you should not enter the trade. And for me, I had a reason not to. We were still respecting. I did not want to see it just come up to here and then reject low. Now, yes, I still could have taken this. The risk to reward isn't terrible. You know, my stop is at, actually kind of is. Never mind. I'm not even mad at it. Well, like if I would enter just strictly off this 2 minute inversion here, this wouldn't have been, a horrible risk to reward trade. However, I'm wanting to see a lot higher, so I want to wait for the price to actually tell me it's ready to go higher. Because for me, all I know is we can just do this and continue to manipulate, continue to consolidate. So I'm waiting here. I'm waiting, and as y'all can see, we end up rejecting. From that rejection, I'm like, all right, well, from that rejection, this is where I'm now looking for short. Since we have an SMT at this high, we put in a CISD on the 1 minute, and we also inverse the 2 minute. I'm like, okay, we should see lower. However, what am I fully waiting for? I'm waiting for an internal model because I want to be exactly correct. We have 10 a.m. coming up, and I'm waiting for price to tell me exactly what it wants to do. Now, yes, we've inversed this 2 minute here. We had the 1 minute change in state. Everything that, should look good. I'm just waiting. I'm still waiting. I have not taken anything yet. I want a better risk to reward because if I'm just to enter short right here, my stop at the high, this isn't a good risk to reward. This is what was keeping me out of the trade initially. I'm waiting for more. And I also wanted to see us close through this 2 minute inversion that we were still kind of respecting. So I'm waiting for price to really tell me it's ready to go. So I'm like, all right, 10 a.m. should either make or break because 10 a.m. will tell us exactly what we want to see. To me, this does like a potential sell model here. As y'all can see, we have buy and sell side of the curve. We have buy side of the curve right here. SMT placed at the high. And now I want to see this become sell side with the same exact targets. I want to see the opening gap be taken. We left some space in between the most recent low and the opening gap. So this is my overall DOL. It also aligns with standard deviation. Everything I want to see here, I'm just waiting for more. So from here, 10 a.m. comes in, opens up higher. I'm like, all right, this is actually good. If I want to see price go lower, we should go higher. We open up a 15-second gap here, accumulation. I want to see this be manipulation and then distribution, and look what we get. Perfect model, 15-second inversion for a value gap after we just pull back and tap this 1 minute gap right here. So from there, I slap it short. I was going to de-risk on this, but I actually kept my full risk. I risked 1% because this was my A+ setup, targeting that initial standard deviation low. Yes, I could have maybe won a couple extra points if I wanted to. However, the reason I closed all here was because we put in an SMT. We put in an SMT at these lows. I could tell we were going to put in an SMT. ES was still very far once NQ ended up coming down. And once we got this initial displacement, I did go break even. I went break even once we got this first displacement leg. But from here, ES put in an SMT. At this point, ES was nowhere near this low. ES was like up here at this point. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to just take it all off at this low. I was going to target SD of this range. But since ES was so far, I figured we were going to put in SMT in reverse. And also, YM was pushing bullish. YM at this point looked very strong. YM had swept the 15-minute low. And as you can see, YM was trending higher at this moment. So I'm like, all right, I don't really want to see this. I want to see us, as I can see, YM is just trending higher. That can potentially draw us higher. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to take all off at this low. I'm not going to try to scalp for any extra couple dollars. But as you can see, that met my target relatively quickly. Within, what is this? A minute or two. 3 minutes, made all of our losses back plus an extra, $375.30. And that was my day. That was a trade I took. I will show you my balance for the end of the week. Now, yeah, I'm up 1634 after my week. Am I happy with this? It's good. I'm happy. I'm blessed. And I'm going into next week. We're going to look to secure a payout. And that is that. So I hope y'all enjoyed. I kind of rambled a little bit on this one, but I did have a lot to talk about. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I appreciate all the support I have been getting as well. Y'all have been showing me so much love off the last video I just put out. So I really appreciate y'all. If you are still watching, thank you so much. I love you. I appreciate you. Please, if you like, comment, and subscribe. Join the free Discord in my bio, and I will catch y'all boys and girls next week. Thank you for watching.